Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. We continue with short-term decision making, but now with sell or further process. So a manufacturing firm may sometimes produce intermediate or joint product that many need to decide whether it wants to sell at the current stage of production or you want to further process the product into end product. Okay, for example, you want to decide whether you want to sell it now or you want to further process so that you can gain additional revenue. For example, you have a tomato farm. You want to decide whether you want to sell the fresh tomatoes or you want to further process it into tomato sauce and tomato juice. So you want to make that decision. You want to sell it now as per your raw material, or you want to raw tomatoes, or you want to further process that and sell it as tomato sauce or tomato juice. Okay. Any cost associated with producing the raw product should not be considered. Why? Because it is irrelevant cost. So in this case, any common cost or the joint cost that you already incurred, in this case, the cost of producing the tomatoes should be disregarded. Okay. Before the split of point, that means that those are the costs, the common costs or the joint costs. So if you can see here, you incur cost. So this is the cost up to the production of tomatoes. Okay. Next, you want to decide whether you want to further process your tomato into tomato puree, tomato juice, or tomato sauce. You will incur additional processing costs here. So before the split of point, this is called the split of point. So before the split of point, you incur a joint cost or common cost. So this common cost will be irrelevant for your decision making because these are common for whether you want to sell it, sell it now or you want to process further. So you already incur this cost. Okay, this is irrelevant for your decision making. Only consider the following or the additional or the further processing cost. Okay, take for example, Vibrant Berhad produces 3 types of tomatoes from a common process which costs 150,000 per month to operate. The normal monthly outputs are as follows. So you have 3 types of tomatoes. You have cherry, Roma, and cocktail. These are the output in kilogram. Each of the products can be further processed. So selling prices and additional processing costs per kilogram are as follows. So you have 3 types of tomatoes. Out of this, you want to decide whether you want to further process or not. So the further processing cost for cherry is 5, Roma is 2, and cocktail is 9 ringgit per kilo. What about the selling price? If you do not further process, then the selling price for cherry will be 11. If you further process, then after the processing cost, you will incur 14, you will get 14 ringgit. What about Roma? Before further processing cost, you will get 14. After processing cost, the selling price will be 20. And this is the cost before the further processing cost. Sorry, this is the selling price for cocktail. The selling price for cocktail is 18. After further processing cost, after further processing, the selling price will be 30. Okay, you are required to advise whether it should further process any of its product. Again, okay, here for cherry, before further processing, the selling price is 11. After further processing, the selling price is 14. For Roma, before further processing, the selling price is 14. After further processing, the selling price is 20, and so does cocktail. This one is 18 and 30. So now you want to decide which product that you should further process. So in this case, you first decide what are the costs or revenue that you should take into consideration. Look at the 150,000. That 150,000 is your common cost. This common cost is irrelevant. So you should not take that into consideration when you want to decide whether you want to further process this product. Okay, that 150 is irrelevant. Why? Because it already has been incurred, or that is your sunk cost, and it does not differ between alternatives. Whether you sell it now or you further process, you still have to incur that common cost. Therefore, that common cost is irrelevant for your decision making. Only consider the incremental cost and revenue. Okay. Uh, Look here, the selling price after further processing, that is 14. Take from the question just now. Before further processing, your selling price is 11. So your incremental revenue will be 3. And what about your processing cost? Your further processing cost for cherry is 5. So that gives you a negative incremental contribution of 2. What about Roma? Roma, after further processing cost, you will sell it at 20 ringgit per kg. If you do not process it further, you can sell it and you will get only 14. So that gives you an incremental revenue of 6. If you further process Roma, the further processing cost is 2. So 6 minus 2 will get 4. So 4 is your incremental contribution. The same goes for your cocktail. So cocktail, if you sell it, you process and you sell it, if you further process and you sell it, you will get 30 ringgit. If you sell it as it is without further process, you will only get 18. So you have incremental revenue of 12. What about your further processing cost? So you compare your incremental revenue and your incremental cost of 9. That gives you an incremental contribution of 3. So from here, you can see that Roma and cocktail should be further processed. Why? Because it leads to an increase in your contribution. So Vibrant Berhad should further process Roma and cocktail, but should sell cherry at its current state without further process. Why? Because the incremental contribution for cherry is negative 2. So for your decision, only further process Roma and cocktail. Okay, that's all for the incremental or for the further process.